Language is essential to our well-being. Languages allow us to exercise our human rights and fundamental freedoms. They are vital to our daily existence and to building human connections. Through language, we can preserve our history, customs, and traditions, convey our thoughts, express ourselves in a language of our choice, and build our future. Worldwide, there are over 7,000 languages in use, and many of these are indigenous. But many languages are increasingly falling out of use, reflecting the vulnerable situation of indigenous peoples worldwide. This is happening for a number of different reasons: increased globalization, urbanization, migration, climate change, and many other factors are impacting the well-being of language communities and the changes in language vitality. Language users choose to switch to a dominant language to avoid discrimination, stigma, exclusion, or to have more economic and social opportunities. Leading global efforts to address this trend and building on the 2019 International Year of Indigenous Languages, the United Nations has proclaimed the period 2022 to 2032 as the International Decade of Indigenous Languages, with UNESCO acting as the lead UN agency. The decade is a global call to action to preserve, revitalize, and promote Indigenous languages around the world. It is only by working together and cooperating that the vitality and sustainability of linguistic diversity can be ensured. The International Decade will help build a better future, where Indigenous peoples are empowered to pass on their languages to the next generations. To reach this goal, UNESCO has worked with different partners to develop a global action plan for the International Decade of Indigenous Languages, which sets out a global framework for joint action and outlines the major steps that need to be taken in the next 10 years. Over the next 10 years, our efforts will focus on raising awareness to demonstrate the importance of linguistic diversity and multilingualism for societal development, encouraging legal recognition of languages and usage in justice, legislation, public administration, education, healthcare, digital development, employment, cultural heritage, biodiversity, sustainable food systems and Indigenous girls and women's empowerment, Indigenous peoples with disabilities, and strengthening partnerships. Ensuring the availability of the human, institutional, and financial resources that are needed to engage in joint action. This work will be done through policy formulation and implementation, capacity building of Indigenous peoples to learn, teach, and transmit their languages through community-based initiatives, enhancing the professional capacities of teachers, interpreters, translators, language specialists, and technology developers, development of multilingual content, tools, and resources, building institutional capacity, data collection for informed policy and decision-making, mechanisms for inclusion, participation, and partnerships. This decade of action will enhance global linguistic diversity and directly improve the lives of Indigenous language users, including youth, women, elderly people, and other professionals such as educators who play a key role in the transmission of Indigenous knowledge, identity, culture, and world views. The Global Action Plan for the International Decade of Indigenous Languages establishes direct and indirect linkages with the Sustainable Development Goals of the UN 2030 Agenda and contributes to achieving them by facilitating effective interactions between a wide range of stakeholders. The International Decade aims to achieve 4 main outcomes. 1. Empower Indigenous peoples to learn, teach, and transmit their languages to current and next generations. 2. Establish Indigenous languages as a global priority for social development, peace building, and reconciliation by 2030. 3. See widespread legal recognition of Indigenous languages at the national level. 4. And develop an enabling environment through policymaking and strengthening institutions to provide adequate language services and resources. The International Decade of Indigenous Languages will contribute to building a brighter, sustainable, and multilingual future for Indigenous language users, leaving no one behind, no one outside by 2032.